Welcome to the All Sorts podcast.
Yeah.
Your one-stop shop for those intriguing deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics.
Absolutely.
And today, we're going back in time to uncover a hidden chapter, in history.
Yeah.
Emperor Haile Selassie's exile in Bath, England.
You probably know him as the Lion of Judah,
Right.
maybe even as a Rastafarian icon. But this period from 1936 to 1940 offers a glimpse into a different side of Selassie,
Okay.
the man behind the myth.
Exactly. We've got historical accounts,
Yeah.
personal anecdotes, even some newspaper clippings from the time,
Oh, wow.
all painting a picture of what it was like for an emperor to find himself in this,
Right.
well, let's be honest, somewhat unexpected location.
Yeah, it really is striking when you think about it. In 1936, Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia forces Selassie to flee.
Right.
He first seeks refuge in Jerusalem,
Yeah.
but then he ends up in Bath.
Hmm.
This elegant spa town known for its Roman baths, not exactly a typical destination for an emperor in exile.
It makes you wonder why Bath? Why not the grandeur of London or a secluded countryside estate?
Well, Selassie himself stated that Bath was the only place in the UK where he felt truly well.
Interesting.
But beyond personal preference, I think this choice speaks volumes about his state of mind at the time.
Okay.
Here he was stripped of his power, forced from his homeland, seeking a sense of normalcy of refuge.
Yeah.
Perhaps even anonymity in Bath with its quiet elegance and established routines might have offered that.
A stark contrast to the turmoil he had just escaped.
Yeah.
So where does an emperor without a country even stay in Bath?
He takes up residence at Fairfield House.
Okay.
This grand Victorian villa perched on New Bridge Hill overlooking the city, but this wasn't just a temporary dwelling.
Right.
Fairfield House became a microcosm of the Ethiopian court in exile.
A whole court in a villa in Bath, that must have been a sight to see.
Imagine it, his family, servants, advisors, even Coptic monks, all under one roof in this unassuming English town.
Wow.
It's a testament to Selassie's determination to maintain a sense of order and continuity even in exile. He wasn't just going to fade into the background. He was bringing his world with him.
Bringing his world with him. That's a great way to put it. So you have this emperor used to palaces and power, suddenly living a much simpler, almost Spartan life in Bath.
Mm-hmm.
What was that transition like for him?
It was a fascinating duality. On the one hand, he was this deeply private man trying to adjust to a new environment. On the other, he became a local celebrity overnight. His every move followed by the Bath Chronicle.
Oh, wow.
Talk about being caught between two worlds.
And it wasn't just the local press paying attention.
Right.
His presence in Bath brought the plight of Ethiopia onto the world stage.
Yeah.
This wasn't just a personal exile.
Yeah.
It was a political exile, a reminder of the aggression and injustice happening in his homeland.
Absolutely. His mere presence was a challenge to Mussolini, a symbol of Ethiopian resistance.
Okay.
And it forced the people of Bath, and by extension the British public, to confront the realities of fascism and colonialism.
Okay, so we have Selassie the exiled emperor trying to find his footing in Bath, navigating this new reality. What was daily life like for him? Did he just hole up in Fairfield House the whole time?
Not at all. He established routines, morning walks with his dog visits to local factories and businesses.
Huh.
He really tried to immerse himself in English life, becoming a keen observer of its customs and workings.
From emperor to exile, trying to blend in. It's quite a picture.
It speaks to his resilience, his ability to adapt to drastically different circumstances. But this period wasn't without its challenges.
Yeah.
Selassie actually faced some unexpected financial struggles during his time in Bath.
Really financial struggles. How is that even possible for an emperor?
It might seem surprising, but it's true. He arrived in England with a considerable sum, tens of thousands of pounds.
Okay.
But running a household like Fairfield with all those people and the expenses that came with it, well, it adds up.
Especially in a place like Bath, which wasn't exactly cheap even back then.
Exactly. And then there were the legal fees. Selassie was embroiled in some complex legal battles, the most significant being his case against Cable and Wireless Ltd.
Cable and wireless, what was that all about?
It was a fight over his rightful earnings from a radio telegraph service between Addis Ababa and London.
Interesting.
Imagine that an exiled emperor battling a British corporation over unpaid dues.
Wow.
It was a David versus Goliath situation, but unfortunately for Selassie, it didn't end in his favor.
So even in exile, he's facing these major setbacks, both financial and legal. It makes you wonder how he managed to maintain his composure, his sense of purpose through all of this.
That's where his character really shines through. Despite these struggles, Selassie never lost sight of his ultimate goal, the liberation of Ethiopia. He continued to advocate for his people to rally international support and to maintain the dignity of his court in exile.
It's inspiring, really, even in the face of such adversity, he never gave up.
And it's important to remember that this wasn't just about politics for Selassie. He was a man of deep faith, and that faith played a crucial role in sustaining him through these dark times. He saw his exile as a test, a trial that he had to endure with grace and dignity.
It's a reminder that history is about more than just dates and battles. It's about the human stories, the resilience of the spirit, the unwavering belief in a cause.
Right.
And Selassie's time in Bath is a powerful testament to that.
It is, and it's also a reminder that even in exile, even in the most unexpected of places, we can find strength, purpose, and a sense of community.
We're going to take a quick break here. But when we come back, we'll delve deeper into Selassie's life in Bath, exploring his relationships with the people, his evolving views on the West, and how this period shaped his legacy.
And for those of you just joining us, welcome to the All Sorts podcast. This is part 1 of our deep dive into Emperor Haile Selassie's exile in Bath, England.
Right. Yeah.
Be sure to stick around for parts 2 and 3, where we'll continue to uncover this fascinating chapter in history.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating story.
Yeah, definitely.
Welcome back to the All Sorts podcast. We're picking up our conversation about Emperor Haile Selassie's exile in Bath, a period that really tested his mettle.
Yeah, but also revealed his remarkable resilience.
You know, I think it's easy to get caught up in the grandeur of his title, Emperor.
Right.
But what strikes me is how Selassie the man navigated these incredibly difficult circumstances with such grace and dignity.
It's a testament to his character. He wasn't just going to sit back and wait for fate to take its course. He was actively working, strategizing, trying to shape events, even from this seemingly powerless position.
You mentioned earlier that he immersed himself in English life. Was that genuine, or was it more of a strategic move, a way to gain sympathy and support for his cause?
It's probably a bit of both. He was a keen observer of English customs, visiting factories, attending social events,
right,
even learning to play golf. But at the same time, he never let go of his Ethiopian identity. He maintained his court-held religious ceremonies, even continued to wear traditional Ethiopian clothing on certain occasions.
So he was walking this tightrope, trying to integrate into British society while also preserving his own cultural heritage.
Yeah.
What did this duality reveal about his leadership style?
Yeah.
I think it shows his adaptability, his ability to move between different worlds without losing sight of his core values.
Okay.
He was a pragmatist, willing to engage with the West on its own terms, but he never compromised on his principles or his commitment to Ethiopia's sovereignty.
This raises an interesting question about his relationship with the people of Bath. How did they perceive this exiled emperor in their midst?
From what I've gathered, he was surprisingly well received. The people of Bath saw him as a dignified figure, someone who was carrying himself with grace and determination in the face of adversity.
It must have been quite a sight, this emperor strolling through the streets of Bath with his dog followed by his entourage.
It was, and it wasn't just the spectacle of it all. There are numerous accounts of his kindness, especially towards children. Remember the story we mentioned earlier about him refusing to skip the queue at the Weston Supermare Tropicana pool?
Right.
It's those little details that really resonated with the people of Bath.
It humanized him, made him relatable despite his royal status.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that even emperors are at their core human beings with their own fears, hopes, and struggles.
Exactly, and that human connection he built with Bath. It wasn't just fleeting. Remember, he gifted Fairfield House to the city before leaving.
Right.
That act speaks volumes.
It really does. It suggests a deep appreciation for the refuge Bath provided him, and perhaps even a sense of gratitude for the kindness and support he received from the people.
It also cemented his legacy in Bath as a benevolent figure, someone who, despite facing immense challenges, never lost sight of the human connection.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about his financial troubles. It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that an emperor could end up in debt.
Right.
What exactly happened there?
Remember, he arrived in England with a considerable sum, tens of thousands of pounds, but running a household like Fairfield with all those people and the expenses that came with it, it adds up quickly, especially in a place like Bath, which wasn't exactly cheap even back then.
And then there were the legal fees. Those lawsuits, especially the one against cable and wireless, must have been incredibly costly.
They were, and if you recall, the Foreign Office wasn't exactly rushing to help him out. They were walking a tightrope, trying not to offend Mussolini, while also managing this exiled emperor who was becoming a bit of a financial liability.
It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? A world power like Britain essentially turning a blind eye to the financial struggles of an exiled monarch.
It does raise questions about their priorities at the time, but thankfully it seems Selassie did find some support from private benefactors, people who recognized his plight and were willing to help.
That's good to hear. So he's in Bath, struggling financially, disillusioned with the League of Nations, but still fighting for his country's freedom.
Yeah.
What was his relationship like with the British government during this time?
It was complex. On the one hand, the British government granted him asylum and allowed him to maintain a semblance of his court in exile. But on the other hand, they were cautious not to provoke Mussolini, and they certainly weren't eager to get involved in a military conflict with Italy over Ethiopia.
So he was a guest, but a guest they were treading carefully around. How did Selassie navigate this delicate political situation?
He used his time in Bath to build relationships to make his case for Ethiopia's liberation. He gave speeches, met with politicians, and wrote articles for British newspapers. He was essentially conducting a public relations campaign for his cause.
And it wasn't just about regaining his throne. Selassie was also concerned with the broader threat of fascism. He saw Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia as a harbinger of things to come, a warning to the world about the dangers of appeasement.
Absolutely. He was one of the first world leaders to speak out against fascism, and he used his platform in Bath to warn the West about the growing threat of Nazi Germany.
So he was a voice of warning, a prophet in exile. Did anyone listen?
Some did, but many were hesitant to get involved. The world was still reeling from the horrors of World War I, and there was a strong desire to avoid another conflict. But Selassie's warnings would prove prophetic just a few years later when World War II erupted.
It's a reminder that history is full of these missed opportunities, these moments where the course of events could have been altered if only people had heeded the warnings.
It is, and it's a reminder that even in exile, even when stripped of their power, individuals can still have a profound impact on the world.
Selassie's story is certainly a testament to that he may have been an emperor without a country, but he never lost sight of his purpose, his dignity, or his unwavering belief in the cause of Ethiopian freedom.
And that brings us to another crucial aspect of his legacy, his role as a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for oppressed people around the world. But we'll delve into that more deeply in our next segment.
Yes, there's so much more to explore about Selassie's impact on the world stage, his connection to the Pan-African movement, and his enduring legacy as a religious icon for the Rastafarian movement.
It's a testament to the enduring power of his story and its ability to resonate across cultures and generations.
So stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into the extraordinary life of Emperor Haile Selassie right here on the All Sorts Podcast. Welcome back to the All Sorts Podcast. We've been on quite a journey exploring the life of Emperor Haile Selassie.
We have.
Particularly his time in exile in Bath, England.
A fascinating story.
And as we delve into the final chapter of our deep dive, we want to shift our focus to Selassie's broader legacy. His return to Ethiopia in 1941 marked a new chapter.
Right.
But his experiences in Bath, his interactions with the West, his observations of global politics, all of this shaped his worldview and influenced his actions as emperor.
It's fascinating how this period of exile, a time of seeming powerlessness, actually amplified his voice on the world stage.
Yeah.
He became a symbol of resistance against oppression, a beacon of hope for colonized people around the world.
You mentioned his advocacy for Ethiopia during his time in Bath.
Right.
But his message resonated far beyond the borders of his own country.
He became a key figure in the Pan-African movement, right?
Absolutely. Selassie's exile and his defiance of Mussolini made him a hero to many Africans who were struggling against colonial rule.
Right.
He was a powerful advocate for African unity and independence, and he played a pivotal role in the formation of the Organization of African Unity, a precursor to the African Union. So he's this exiled emperor finding refuge in Bath and simultaneously becoming a global symbol of resistance and a leading voice for African liberation.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable.
It is, and his legacy extends even further into the realm of religion and spirituality for the Rastafarian movement. Haile Selassie was more than just a political leader.
Okay.
He was a divine figure, a living embodiment of God, the Lion of Judah, a descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
That's a powerful image, and it speaks to the way Selassie's story transcended politics and tapped into a deeper longing for liberation, both physical and spiritual.
It highlights the ways in which history, religion, and identity can intertwine in unexpected and profound ways.
So we have this emperor exiled, finding refuge in a small English town, and then becoming this global icon, a symbol of resistance, a religious figure. It's almost hard to believe it's all the same story.
But that's the beauty of history, isn't it? It's full of these unexpected twists and turns, these intersections of the personal and the global, the political and the spiritual.
And Selassie's story with this chapter in Bath is a perfect example of that. It challenges us to think about the nature of power, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring legacies we leave behind.
It also encourages us to look beyond the surface, to delve deeper into the lives of those who came before us, and to see how their experiences continue to shape our world today.
It's a reminder that history isn't just a collection of dates and names, but a tapestry woven from the experiences of real people grappling with real challenges and leaving behind legacies that continue to ripple through time.
And it's a reminder that those legacies can take on unexpected forms, inspiring movements, shaping beliefs, and connecting people across continents and cultures.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? What can we take away from Haile Selassie's time in Bath and his broader legacy?
Perhaps it's a call to action, an invitation to look closer at the world around us, to seek out the hidden stories, the unexpected connections, the threads that bind us together across time and space.
It's about recognizing the power of individual stories to inspire, to challenge, to change the course of history. And who knows, maybe there's a hidden chapter of history waiting to be discovered right in your own backyard.
That's a wonderful thought to leave our listeners with. The All Sorts podcast is all about exploring those hidden chapters, those fascinating stories that often get overlooked or forgotten.
So if you enjoyed this deep dive into Haile Selassie's exile in Bath, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
And while you're there, check out our vast library of deep dives on a wide range of intriguing subjects. We guarantee there's something for everyone, from the mysteries of ancient civilizations to the latest breakthroughs in science and technology. We're here to spark your curiosity and expand your horizons.
We also invite you to join the conversation on X, Instagram, and Threads. Let's connect, share ideas, and continue exploring the world together.
And don't forget to spread the word, tell your friends, family, and anyone who loves a good story about the All Sorts podcast. The more the merrier.
Thanks for listening, and until next time, happy exploring.